Well, hi all. Hey, well, I just got a whole bunch of love and gifts, that I didn't really want to receive yesterday, but something actually prepared me in a way with something I shared when I was reviewing my dreams, and I had been looking deeper into them, into those themes, and just sharing them as an offering, like sharing them for me, for my healing, and then offering it, to anyone and to everyone who is open to receive, and hold space to receive my messages or love's messages or the messages that wanted to be expressed through me and come forth and through me, for that healing and for that sharing, offering, giving, exchanging, receiving, the alchemy of the goddess, the alchemy, of the heart, that transforms the poison into nectar, and yeah, purifies the mind and the body and the spirit, and frees the soul. So it's been huge actually. So I've been working with my dreams, and they've been so potent in the last little while since I've been off of Facebook and social media and a lot of media. Like, I hardly have been, going to the outer to get my information. I've been going really deep within to excavate and investigate and explore and just work with what's been given. And a lot of that has, it started this year with just having these feelings of anger come up. A lot of anger, repressed anger, that I never knew what to do with, or that I felt guilty about feeling, or that I didn't know what to do with. And so, I would usually turn it on myself, or choose old destructive patterns of behavior, and those things weren't working for me. And I knew there was another way, and I chose love rather than pain. But part of that was allowing myself to be with my anger, and to allow my anger, and to feel that anger, and to acknowledge it, and to listen to that anger, and just to work with it and play with it, and just be with it, and allow it to be, to teach me, and allow it to be, just allow me to be as I was and as I would be, without having the need to judge, condemn, or like control it, manipulate me. And so, working with those feelings and all of these themes, and then, like, it's kind of starting with like a big, huge, potent dream back in March 1st. It was kind of showing me, like, how intense it was going to be. And if you're curious to go down like 60 videos or so, there it is, back in April, I believe, that I was sharing with a friend, with a teacher of mine. And I knew it was going to be huge, and it has been. But especially this last little bit, in the last couple months too, I noticed I've been feeling like kind of impatient with myself. Like, come on already. But also just knowing that it's okay to allow the process, and just to work with it and play with it. And then sometimes just let it rest and let it be, and let the universe help me, let God help me, let love help me, let her help me, let the flow help me, let my heart guide me, and all of these inner parts of me that want to be integrated and acknowledged and accepted and included. Let them speak through me, let them speak to me, listen to them, observe them, and acknowledge and honor them. It's honoring all of me and all of my energy and all that I can be, and then all that I am already. And so I know that some people won't understand like some of this work, or understand my own process, but I haven't been getting it really from anyone else but myself and my guides, and like my intuition, and like just gathering everything that I do find, or that finds me, or that's drawn to me, or that I'm drawn to, um, letting that teach me. And just, there's of course like lots of things that I like, and I love like all the traditions of mysticism and like religion, and like the mystical branches of those, and like just the more pure, I guess, like messages or the bones of those stories that speak to my heart and speak to my soul. And it's just like, yeah, that goddess alchemy, where it's all inclusive, and it's like all of it together, like bringing it together into that one still point, that 0 point, that container. And so, yeah, some of my stories, like, yeah, that have been challenging and difficult for me, like some of my old mythology and my old like programming has been really difficult to uncover and get through, and like layer by layer shed it all, and or integrate it, cut away what no longer serves, and take all of the parts that do like have something to show me, or something, um, yeah, to offer something to fertilize with, yeah, like, yeah, sorting out what bullshit's mine and what bullshit isn't, and like using my own bullshit, claiming my own bullshit, like to fertilize like my mind, like instead of letting it pollute my mind, like doing something with it. And like, yeah, choosing to face it, and choosing to own it, and be accountable for it, and like make friends with it, and play with it. And so it's kind of funny that, yeah, today, yeah, um I saw something that was bullshit, and I was just like, there's bullshit. And it wasn't like, it was kind of funny, like I wasn't like kind of mad about it anymore. It was just like, oh, there it is, there's bullshit. And it's just so funny. Yeah, I started singing a song about bullshit and our bullshit, and it was just so funny. It was like the inner child and the clown and the trickster and the joker, the comedian that wants to play around. And it was just so funny, like how I noticed that, wow, because that's one of the things that I noticed a couple months ago, like, why can't I just make peace with the bullshit and know that the bullshit is part of all of it? And because it's like, yeah, it is, like, and we just get to decide what to do with it, or yeah, how to play with it, or how to allow it. And it was just like, why am I so angry at every time I see it, like, cause, and yeah, just getting impatient with that, like, why am I not over this or through this already, kind of a thing. But like, yeah, it's just because I already see like certain things, like, but like the feelings were still like in some sense recycling, or reseeding, or refueling some of it, and I hadn't gotten down to like some of the root of it. And sometimes I would get sucked back into my anger, and carried away, or lost myself at certain times, but then would bring myself back to center, and observe and listen, and like, or laugh about it, or like just let it go, or just like let it be. And then if it would come back up again, I knew there was something there for me. If there was some kind of charge there, some kind of energy in it, like, yeah. And it took a little bit of practice, like, and I've been showing up to practice every day and play with it. And sometimes I push myself really, really hard, and that's probably why, because I expect myself to get it, and expect so much of me. And I didn't realize, like, really in certain ways, how I expected a lot of certain others that I wanted to be, or who I thought they should be, or who I thought they were for me. And like seeing, yeah, certain things about how some of those projections like really just pointed, yeah, back to me, like how yeah, how I wanted myself to be, or how I believed I needed to be good, to be worthy, to be loved, to be accepted, to be included, to be a part of it all. and to be allowed to be, you know. And so, yeah, that's just a lot of the things that I have been seeing and learning, was just like some of those old stories and programs and the bullshit, um, that I wasn't enough or I was too much. Yeah, but it was like never enough, or it was too much. So the push and pull and those stories, and also like being wrong, like being seen as wrong, um, feeling like I was wrong for just being me, um, never really allowing myself to really be, but as I was, because should have been something else, or I should be something else, or this doesn't feel good, so it should be something that feels better, or it should be something that's more pleasing, or it should be something that is worthy, it should be something that looks nice, it should be, all those stories. Like, why can't it be as it is? Like, why can't bullshit be bullshit and just tell us that it is? Like, and like, yeah, it's up to us to see that, though, in our own ways, and like make peace with that, and like really receive the gift that bullshit has and for us. And yeah, like the gold, yeah, within, like that seeming muddy water, like where the lotus grows. The lotus doesn't disown the mud, they're one. Yeah, it's nourishment, and it's like, yeah, it's home. It's, yeah, like where it grows up and through like that mud to reach the light. So that darkness and all that, So just accepting, yeah, certain bullshit this year, and making friends with the bullshit, and just saying, oh, okay, I'm willing, like, to do something with this, but I don't really know what or how, or, yeah. Because, yeah, sometimes diving into those feelings that have been depressed and repressed and oppressed and suppressed is not easy at all, because it's a shitstorm, and the shit gets stirred up, and it comes up from sludge, yeah, and it's just all muddy for a little bit sometimes, until it clears, or until we're still, and we can see and listen and hear. So, yeah, it's a practice, and yeah, playing, and being willing to claim it. Yeah. So yeah, my little song in my while I was brushing my teeth and stuff, and I just got a text, and it was just something that I was like, nope, from like some solicitor, and like some offer. No, thank you though. That's bullshit. But like, yeah, something that would have triggered me probably like, I don't know, maybe even a month ago, and before that, yes, it would have like just been like, like, don't invade my space. But like, now that I've been working with my boundaries and setting my boundaries and taking space for myself, and like some of that had to do with like just leaving social media, removing myself from the situation because it was too noisy and loud, and it was taking me away from myself, distracting me from myself, and it did help me see like a lot of things, of course, and it helped me like voice some things, and it helped me be able to speak my truth and like really own it, and like notice certain things, and about my communication, and about different patterns with family, different patterns with friends, or like just in relationships, people I'm in relationship with. And it was awesome for the connection and for the reflection and like for the laughs and all those good things. But like, then there was a certain point where it became like kind of an obsessive thing, where, oh, what's happening today, and what do I need to know, and stuff. And it was just kind of like getting old, really. And I knew it was like taking more energy in the end than it was really giving me. So it was like time to take a step back, and and do my own work and focus on that, inner standing. So that's what I got to choose, and that's what I've been playing with, and showing up for, and choosing to do. And so it's been maybe 11 weeks now, and October 1st was my last day on Facebook, and now it's December 17th. and just like the space that did open up for me in a lot of ways, and just yeah, so I could take care of me, so I could be my love for all of me, and I could attend to what I really needed, and what I really needed to see for me. Because in a lot of ways I was hoping that I could help others see certain things, and I might be able to change their mind or help them free their own minds or open up or plant seeds, and I probably did help a little bit with planting seeds or just helping to share certain things, or anyways, it was just my right to my own voice and my own opinions, my own thoughts, my feelings, like my own experience, what I've seen, what I know, what I don't know, like, like what I'm learning, and like, it's just interesting to see certain dynamics, and then like certain judgments and certain uh, like separation or segregation or discrimination at play and at work there in all sorts of ways, like where we're all projecting shit onto each other, and sometimes it's our own bullshit, but sometimes it's like we see shit for what it is. So with that being said, like it takes a little discernment, like practice, practice, practice with discernment. And that's not an easy thing. It's not at all. And it takes courage too. And to own our own shit and to swallow our own pride and to be accountable for the ride that we're choosing to ride. Yep. On the wheel. And I would notice all those things, and it did help me identify like a lot of different patterns of self-sabotage and just like unconscious like habits and or just like things that I would get pulled into, and it was just like okay, so it was very valuable and some really great lessons that I needed for me. And I knew from this dream in March how like that actually would be playing a huge part, because it was all themed around like the collective and how we were kind of like all in our own little bubbles and pods and with our own agendas, and it was just like a lot of unconscious directed energy, and it had to do with sleeping and waking and just all sorts of silliness going on, and like coercion and force and like bullying and slander and just losing our tempers and things, or like just like not really honoring our energy, in a lot of ways. And so I did get that was what is going to be about. But then I realized too, like with the themes in the dream, that I would be removing myself from that situation eventually and returning home to me and to what I needed. And because I was so tired, I was so exhausted in the dream, like I just wanted to go home and sleep, because man, like all this caregiving was exhausting, and all this pleasing was trying to like put out little fires that everybody had, and little problems and issues that people had, and trying to make everyone comfortable by being like that, playing that role, or being that hostess, or being like part of that, like I guess team. But it wasn't, it seemed like I was doing it alone, like in certain ways, like where I was the only one that saw like all of these things, and they needed me like to smooth it over, or to smooth it out, so that everything would go all right. And and just like certain things like in that dream was just kind of funny, like showing me exactly like what bullshit I needed to look into about like what was my responsibility, what was mine to carry. Really, like, why didn't I allow myself my own boundaries, my own space, like my own energy needs, for my well-being in certain ways, like, and it was just helping me see that. And so that was huge. It started out with that when the feelings were so intense. Like I've never felt adrenaline like that, like coming out of a dream, and just like, oh, like how, like, because it was just a little precursor, a little taste of like what kind of energy and anger I'd be working with, and like, or like fear and just frustration and like the whole spectrum of anger, rage, and all of that, and grief, and really disappointments and resentments and all of that too as well. Because the last part of the dream, yeah, spoke to me in a lot of ways, and I did have some messages for me where I was wondering, why, yeah, why do I have such high expectations and ideals around who my teachers and my mentors and my elders and, yeah, pretty much my parents, because it made me think of my dad in a lot of ways. Like there was a connection there, like where I'd been like a little bit disappointed with him, like for getting sucked into his own anger, but not really realizing how it was affecting, um, me sometimes, like where he would just scream and yell when we go over there, scream and yell about politics, and there'd be food flying out of his mouth because he was so passionate about and enraged about just justified and about what he was saying. I mean, like, yeah, like certain things, like, of course, we have the right to be angry about or feel angry about, or like, of course, we're going to get triggered by certain things. But like when it was all the time, like, and projecting this, like, yeah, this lie, really, but like, because this character that we don't like, that holds all of the shit that we don't like, and we want to project stuff, and we want to like make them the bad guy, and it was just kind of sad for me, like, to see that in a lot of ways, like where he had always been like so gentle, emotionally, um, intelligent, compassionate, like, um, yeah, it was just interesting to see this other side emerge over the last 4 years, um, in certain ways, like where, yeah, there's that derangement syndrome where people just want to hate and fear and loathe, like, certain people that they despise, but like not even taking accountability for their own actions because they feel so justified. And it was just like, yeah, I was kind of separated from that at the time because I was just like, man, yeah, this is just kind of a circus. And like, I haven't watched TV, like, seriously, in over 10 years, like regular programming. I haven't had like cable or like anything like that for a long, long time. And so I had distanced myself from like those kinds of lies a long time ago. And so like it was rare. It would be like maybe like when I'd go over to their house where the TV would always be on, that like I would see how messed up it was, and it was just like, this was this for real? Like, kind of like with certain news shows on, and it's just like, oh man, can you please turn that off? Like, it's just rubbing me the wrong way. Or I don't want to sit here and like watch that. It was like a train wreck. Sometimes like just get pulled into it though, and it's just like, yeah. And then like just the commercials and stuff, they've changed so much. I mean, I haven't watched, yeah, like a lot of that. Like, I avoid all that, like, because it's not like what I want to take into me. It's not what I'm interested in. It's not like legit to me. And so, yeah, it's like I had deprogrammed or like moved away from that like some time ago. And it's not like I never saw different TV shows or different like movies or like, yeah, things like that. Like, I had other resources and outlets to view like my own shows and my own select shows and, certain things like that. But like, yeah, like being out of the programming, like for a long time, like I just kind of assumed in certain ways that because I was like experiencing certain things, that why don't other people see, like, like how it's used as manipulation and tools and advertising and like subliminal things and like just the programming, like how can you not see that? Like, because oh shit, we got to acknowledge that there's programming and that there are programs and that there's programs running. And if we don't believe that, then we're lost in all of our programs, So, gotta acknowledge like some of those things though. But yeah, so it kind of took me a little bit to understand that, to get that, like, why are people so like, wow, so into believing certain things. And it was just like, well, maybe if I would have still been watching all those things, maybe I would have been too, like in certain ways, because I realized, like, yeah, it doesn't take a lot, like, to get sucked into it, really, and to become addicted to it, or to use it as a drug, or to, yeah, I don't know, to think that we need it. I don't know. Like, yeah, there's a lot to that. But anyways, like, it just, yeah, I was kind of disappointed with my teacher in the dream, because she wasn't getting it. Like, she didn't see what was going on, like, behind the scenes, like with all of these little groups, and like all of these things that were happening, like, and people using force, and people bullying, and tackling me to the ground, and like just like how the energy was just chaos and chaotic, and it wasn't structured at all, and and like, why don't you understand what's happening in your own house? Why did you not set ground rules or boundaries, or like set any of this up? And it was just kind of showing me, like, well, like showing me the places that I needed to build some structure, and set some boundaries too, and like really like understand for myself, um, where like I was so afraid of rigidity in certain ways, and of being oppressed and suppressed and repressed, that like, yeah, it was overcorrection, um, that I chose, because I had such a tyrant of a mother, like in a lot of ways. She was beautiful and wonderful when I was a small child, but then as me and my sister got older, she was felt like she was losing control, so she projected a lot of stuff on to me, because I was the oldest, and I reminded her the most of herself, probably, or what, for whatever reason, like she was the most protective of me, maybe. But like she, yeah, projected a lot of her shit onto me, like, and tried to control me. And she, yeah, abused me to try and, yeah, get me to behave. And I really resented that. And told myself I was never going to be like that. And I was never going to be like they were, like in the adult world that they were in. Like, I was never going to do that to my own child. And I was never going to do that to anyone else, and like squash someone else, and force someone else, and all of that. And so um, I didn't want to force myself to do anything either, really. But I kind of did internalize that tyrant, like, and turn it on myself, and like, really, yeah. And then there is also the rebel that needed to breathe, and just to be, and just assert my own identity, and so I could be myself, or save or protect parts of myself that I really wanted to protect. And that wasn't wrong of me. But yeah, it was just stuff that I didn't realize, like, and fully, like, until the last couple years, when I saw certain things happening, and how like I manipulated my own energy, like, and I, yeah, started seeing certain levels and layers of it, like, where, oh, that's interesting to see, like, where I'm not honoring like what I need, or like where I'm ignoring like certain signs from my body, or like really like physical needs, like separating my mind from my body, where I didn't want to be in my body, and I was always in my mind or in my head. And yeah, and trying to figure it all out so I could stay ahead, like trying to predict certain things, try to observe certain things, so I'd know if I was safe or not, or how to fit in, like, into this group or whatever I was in, or like, yeah, in order to like belong, or like get my needs met, or be included, or yeah, all of that. And sometimes it was just like, if it seemed like it was too much, and it was like tyrannical to me, then of course I would say fuck you to that, and I would go my own way, or like act out in certain ways, like the shadow rebel. But like the rebel was there to protect me, and the rebel's been an awesome ally. And yeah, but also didn't serve me in a lot of ways, because like um, I'd have knee-jerk reactions, unconscious, like complex reactions, to being told what to do, or like having someone's attitude, like, yeah, just not wanting that, like, to be absorbed or whatever, and I would boomerang it back, you know. And then, like, yeah, certain things, like, where I was already going to choose them, but then if I thought like I was being pushed into it, I was like, no, I'm not gonna do it then, even though it was like maybe something that was good for me. But if I thought like I was being pressured into it, but like, yeah, I pressured myself the most, of course. But like, yeah, and then if someone said, yeah, maybe, yeah, just kind of alluding to that you shouldn't do that, don't do that, like, I was like, man, I'm gonna go do that. So sometimes it was like good experience to learn through those things, but sometimes it really did end up like hurting me more than I needed to, like with just my defiance and my attitude, like, about things, like, don't tell me how to live my life, don't tell me what to do, because I'm gonna do what I want to do. Yeah, because, like, yeah, that's kind of just survival strategy that I learned as a teenager, when I was, yeah, very, very controlled and abused, and just like felt like it all come from all sides at once, like in abandonment and rejection. And like, I knew fucking stuff was, certain things were bullshit too, like, and so I didn't want to go along with the bullshit programs, and I resented having to. And so, yeah, it was just, there was a lot of that, and it was just like, oh, a lot of just trying to survive, really, and um, protect myself and just be myself and experience life how I wanted to, how I needed to, what, and like through like all the feelings and like desires and like interests that I had about things. A lot of things that I was interested in, like, were forbidden in my home. Like, I've always had like an attraction to mysticism and the esoteric, you know, and that's the hidden. And there is so much hidden within me, which is, yeah, pretty cool. But yeah, I've always wanted to understand things and know, like, because I could see certain relationships and I could see certain patterns, and I always like adored like just a lot of the different traditions, and like just different people, and like just learning from everyone. And like, yeah, so, but when it got too rigid, or when it got too like the dogma was shoved down the throat, it was just like, ugh, I'm gonna throw that up and I'm gonna reject all of it. It's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater in certain ways, like sometimes, like. But now I've gotten like, yeah, a little bit better about like a lot of that, especially lately, like where I can consider something, or I can like take bits and pieces out of it that resonate, and then I can just say no thanks, or I'll leave the rest there, and thank you very much, I got what I needed from this, like, or not trying to make it fit like my own narrative, but like just taking the bits and pieces that feel right for me, and then just allowing the rest to be, yeah, not having to like really try and do anything with it, or like make it wrong, or yeah, or make it fit either, if that makes sense. So going with the flow here. Yeah, I just thought I wanted, yeah, it would be helpful to review, or to share some of those things, to get a better context of, yeah, what I've been working with and going through, and like with my alchemy practices, like, and being or feeling at war, because I've been at war with myself, like the tyrant and the rebel, like, have always held that tension, and it was always the good girl and the wild child, like, yeah, wanting to be good and pure and loved and worthy, but also needing to assert my own identity and my own wildness and my own energy. And so, like, I didn't really know how to do that, and to unify that, and to integrate all that, and to free that, and to honor that, like honor both sides of the dark and the light, and or what I saw as wrong and right, and or what I've been taught, you know, was wrong and right, and all of that. And yeah, getting to learn that, and having to go through some hard lessons to learn some of that myself. And that's what I needed, because that's how I've always been, like one of those kids, like, don't touch the stove, it's hot. Oh, how hot is it? Like I need to know for myself. And yeah, people could share with me their experiences and uh, their insights about things, but I always needed to know for myself. So that's why I've always been curious and I've always looked into things deeply. And like, I didn't just take someone's word for it a lot of the time, but like, until there was like some kind of trust built up. But then, yeah, sometimes maybe that's where I gave my power away, when I stopped questioning their authority or the authority that I gave them, or my power that I gave away to them consciously or unconsciously. But like, yeah, of course, there's people that I admired and that we admire, that or that are just like, yeah, brilliant, and they shine and we love their light and they're the sunshine for us. And especially during hard times or during times of darkness, like, and we feel like they can fix us, or they have the answers for us, or that they know because they know. So yeah, just have idealizing certain people in my life, and like really not seeing them as they really were, but as I wanted them to be, or as I thought they were, or maybe they were playing at being as well. And yeah, like kind of with cognitive dissonance, pushing the rest away, like, or like not listening to myself about certain things because I wanted them to be right. And um, yeah, just like I want to be right, like we all want to be right. We all want to be right, as we are, right? A right being. And so, like, some of those old stories, like, yeah, why can't I be right? Like, why can't you see me as right? Why can't, like, why do I have to be wrong for you to be right? And yeah, I've never really liked to make other people wrong, but like sometimes it's just like when we see wrong done or harm done, it's just like it feels so wrong. And that's all I could see for a long time, was like, what was wrong? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Like, really, what's wrong with you? Like, let's fix it. Like, what's wrong with this? Like, let's work it out. Let's talk about it. Let's fix it. Let's, like, if it was like, where there's a will, there's a way kind of thing. Like, and it kind of control strategies in certain ways too. Like, if we just work hard enough, we can fix it. If we try harder, we can fix it. If we try harder, like, we'll make it better. But like sometimes it's like that's wasting so much energy, and it's like much kinder to let it go, or let it be, or let it teach us, like, instead of needing to manipulate it or change it or make it into something that's not, or yeah, all of that. So yeah, the last part of that dream was just kind of showing me, like, kind of um yeah, a lot of those things, like with idealization and expectation, and then like having resentments about, well, why can't you be who I need you to be? Like, who I've needed you to be. Like, why aren't you that for me, like, anymore? Or like, yeah, not in the same ways anyways. Like, and yeah, really seeing like where some of the unconscious judgments and um, condemnation and projections were coming from as well, like in the last little while, the last couple months, and especially the last couple weeks, and even the last couple days, like we've gone through layers and layers of it, seeing where those stem from and things, and seeing more clearly and more deeply into me and into all of that, into those stories and into those patterns, into those dynamics, into like, yeah, those old unconscious programs, and like kind of like overlays in a way. Yeah, that's kind of veiling like what was real and what wasn't. Um, yeah, because we make things real like by believing that they're real sometimes. And to reinforce our own stories and our own identities and our own agendas and all that. So yeah, I hope that's coherent, and hope it makes sense. Um, So yeah, just looking at um, what I expected of them, and like, why do I have such expectations, high expectations and standards for them? And then seeing like, yeah, how I really did have them for myself as well, in a lot of ways, like to be good enough, to be pure enough, to be worthy enough, to be good enough, to be enough, and and to be included, accepted, to be loved. Yeah. And like, I guess there was a part of me that was like, didn't feel like I could be loved if I wasn't a certain on a certain pedestal of perfection or some kind of false image of perfection. And really, like, I did some cards in Soul Collage a couple years ago that kind of showed me certain things about that, where it was like, in the summertime, like during eclipse season, and I had like this wounded child, and it was a wounded boy, and then it was like this goddess type figure that was so beautiful, but she was above and she wasn't touching the ground and she was inaccessible, and like this boy was so sad and angry and hurting, like because he wasn't able to reach her or to like feel worthy of that love that, like that love is the love that we want, right? And that like he didn't measure up. And so like, yeah, those were showing me like certain shadow and light aspects of, yeah, a wounded child, and like of the perfectionist and the idealist, and like, the being that I thought I needed to be right, and yeah, to be received and to be liked or to be pleasing and all of that. And so yeah, that showed me a lot of layers into that, like, but like, yeah. And as I realized those things after I'd made it, I, yeah, looked into it like a little bit, and I was just like, yeah, I can acknowledge that I have like those expectations, and then there is that pedestal projection of like perfection, or like how we do tend to project that kind of stuff onto our leaders, or our teachers. And that's, yeah, because we want like someone, I mean, we want to think and believe that there's someone that knows and that, um, yeah, can save us or something, or like the savior saved mentality, external savior mentality, like kind of, yeah, program. And that we need to be a martyr, like, and all those things that go along with it. And yeah, so just, yeah, been looking at all my stories like for a couple years now, and like I've seen them come up in certain ways, and I have like noticed them, and I observe them, and like then I like kind of recenter myself, and then I tell myself what's really true, and like a new program, like really that's more aligned with what I know, and or what's true, like what my heart knows, and what feels right, and more true and aligned with that like inner truth. And so, but like, yeah, still going through layers of it, and then seeing like certain things come up in a lot of different ways, where, yeah, the old stories of being wrong and being seen as wrong, and being wrong for being me, and why am I not allowed to be like, why is everyone else allowed to express their shit and their anger and their imperfections, but I'm not allowed to? Like, what's that about? Like, why am I always the scapegoat, or like the wrong one, or the bad one, or the villain that needs to smooth things over, or like, yeah, and please, and all of that. And it's just like, I really resented that, um, in a lot of ways, but like that was my shadow caregiver, and like my peacemaker, and my dad was the peacemaker in his home, where there would be fits of rage and things, or fights in his household, where he would need to protect, or felt the need to protect, his mom or his sisters from his dad. And like that's the peacemaker and the mediator, and the one that smooths things over. And that's exactly kind of the dynamic that was happening, where when my mom would lose it on us kids, then my dad would come in and step in and be the mediator and the peacemaker, and be the in between, like, yeah, her and like we. And yeah, and so like it's just learned patterns too, like the tyrant and the mediator and the caregiver and like the peacemaker, yeah, like, and the good girl and the bad girl. And like once I knew that I couldn't measure up to my mom's expectations of being good, then I was just like, okay, fuck it. Like you're telling me I'm bad. You're telling me that I'm disgusting. You're telling me that like I'm not good enough. Then that's what I'll be then. I'll live up to that reputation then, because that's who I am, I guess. You know? And so like that, yeah. So I did, yeah, take that on, like those projections and yeah, those descriptions and those programs. And like, yep, I guess it's my fault. I'm the one to blame, you know? So always trying to make up for something, you know? And that's why I felt like Alice and the black sheep of the family. But like, yeah, a lot of that stuff didn't really register in a hugely or fully conscious way until this year, where I did realize, like, oh my God, all of a sudden. And it was actually in like sharing and speaking that it just kind of came out. And then it was like, oh my God, I am carrying the sins for my whole family. Like, why am I doing that? Why do I need to do that? Like, wow. Because that hurts so much. Like, that, and that you expect me to do that too. Like, and as like some kind of unconscious agreement or something, where, oh, yep, I'll hold that for you too. Like, and no, I'm not going to do that anymore. Like, I'll own my own bullshit, but like, I'm not owning everyone else's. And I don't like appreciate like some of the projections either, but I know like that I've sent my own out. Mine, yeah. And I have like sent out projections unconsciously, like of the self that I thought I was as well. And yeah, that kind of remains in our energy fields, where people will pick up on that in an unconscious way, through their own energy fields. And that's why like we attract certain people sometimes, like that will help us play those roles or help, you know, like, yeah, until we figure that out. And so yeah, just yeah, sorting through all this stuff and realizing a lot. But yeah, kind of just, yeah, dealing with feeling impatient with myself, because kind of like I want to be done with this already, because it's been it's been grueling work. But then I was realizing the other day that, oh, I'm trying so hard, like because of the dream that I shared yesterday, where I was getting dye all over the bathroom. Like every time I tried to clean it up, it'd smear it on something else, and I was just making a huge mess everywhere I go. Every time I tried to clean something up, it was just, well, the mess was still there, and it was getting larger, and it was, yeah, just frustrating me even more. And so it was like, okay, just let it be messy then, let it go, and then, or just like move forward. And like, because you're not going to keep this clean, because it's never going to be as clean as we think perfect should be, like, really. And so just wasting energy trying to like keep up that appearance, or like, I don't know, prevent certain muddying. But like, yeah, that's just what it is. Like, funny like that. And so I was like, oh my gosh, because I'm pushing myself so hard, because like, yeah, I do that. Like, oh, I don't do that to anyone else, but I'll do it to myself. Like, I'm always kind and encouraging to others, like, and but like, yeah, I've had those like resentments, like sometimes, like when there's things that like why didn't you show up for me, like when I needed you? And then like feeling guilty about feeling those things, but then and not really addressing those things or acknowledging those feelings, or like being willing to like, hey, I asked you for something, and you know, like you said you would, but you weren't there, or like, yeah, like what's the deal here? Like, but instead of just like, oh, it's okay, I understand, like, you know, like, and just letting them off the hook, and then not honoring like my own needs and feelings about things, or just making excuses for them or that kind of behavior, or just letting it like instead of setting my boundaries. Yeah, and that's where a lot of the resentments were showing me, like, that hello, there needs to be clear boundaries and intent here, and maybe some more like clear communication, or what I will and won't do, what I will and will not experience, and all those things. And so, like, yeah, this continuity and going with that flow, like with the medicine companions I've been working with, that have been assisting and helping me with certain things and seeing certain things and following through and practicing and playing with this. And so, yeah, I'm grateful for all the help and the assistance for sure. But like, yeah, it does take a willingness and just letting go, like, of how I think it should be, or like how I think certain things need to be presented or given to me. Like, because all those things, even though they hurt and it was a lot of pain, they really did show me a lot of things that I needed to see. And so, yeah, it's good medicine. And just, yeah, being willing to pay attention and be receptive to the messages and to the help being offered, and like the parts of me that were speaking that says this sucks and this hurts. Like, pay attention here to me. Like my wounded child crying inside, and like, or like the rebel coming up, or the martyr coming up, or like those feelings and those stories, and then like, oh, okay, so where am I not appreciating myself? Where am I not acknowledging myself? Where am I not like listening to myself? Where am I dishonoring myself? Where, yeah, am I being untrue to myself? You know, all those things, like, really helps me. Yeah, it kind of points me to something that isn't working for me, or it's not honoring like my integrity, or like what's true for me anymore. And like listening to my feelings and allowing my feelings and the discomfort, and yeah, especially like the unpleasant feelings where I was taught to feel guilty about feeling those or expressing those. And so like really it's been this year that I've been able to own all of that, and like be able to allow myself, give myself permission to express I'm feeling angry right now, or like even like, yeah, like letting it be known, hey, I'm angry right now. Or like, and then even realizing too, like when there's like kind of an outburst of like, you know, it's a little stronger than I maybe would have intended, because it had built up, like there had been some, you're not allowing me to be right now, like just as I am, and like how I need to be, like, and that really makes me angry right now, like, because why am I not allowed my limitations? Why am I not allowed my moments? Why am I not allowed my frustrations? Why am I not allowed to express them and confront them and address like what's bothering me? And like, yeah, and that's like not typical me. And so like, yeah, people in relationship were just like taken aback, like, wow, like in certain ways, like, oh, that doesn't feel very comfortable for me, you know. And it's just like, that's too bad. If it's not comfortable, then, you know, like, yeah, but I mean, I'll be accountable for my words, my actions, and I'll own up to my stuff, and then I'll admit that, like, yeah, that was an emotional reaction right there, and I'll admit to that. But like, why do I need to be punished for that? Like, for being human and for owning, like, and expressing what I need to. And it's right for me to be angry right now. And yeah, I just get to be, like, I just get to feel angry right now. I get to allow myself to feel all I feel. And I get to, you know, like, do what I need to do to heal. And it's just like, yeah, that's not really something, yeah, I guess when we're used to our comfort zones, like, that family likes to see. They don't like, yeah, because it's like just stirring the pot, stirring it all up. And when they're used to something else, especially like maybe from me and from like my caregiver being. And it, yeah, like some of my friends had like kind of like they didn't even know, like, I guess how to react when they saw me, like, yelling and calling out bullshit. No, this is this is fucking bullshit. Because that's not usually my tactic. I sugarcoat things too, but like I felt an urgency to like show up and just, like, obviously it wasn't directed like directed at anyone in particular, but it was just like, yeah, kind of like just a different way of me showing up in certain ways and owning my own power, being willing to, like, and learning how to. And Yeah, because that was a part of myself I suppressed. And that was like for night in the summertime when I was like reclaiming the bitch. I was like, okay, bitches be tripping, tripping, bitches be tripping, tripping, bitches be tripping, tripping, bitches. Yeah, and it was just funny. Like, I always hated that word, and like I never wanted to be that bitch. Or, but then I was just like, oh, it's funny. It's just a funny ass word, and it's just like I'll make friends with that bitch because that bitch is that bitch is the witch. Yeah, I don't know. That bitch is the shit. Yeah, she's a good ally. And yeah, I love that bitch. So it was like I said, bitch, 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 like with more love and affection, and just like more than I'd ever said it in my life, like where it wasn't like a derogatory thing, where it was just like kind of a fondness and affectionate thing. So that was kind of funny in a lot of ways, like where I was just reclaiming my own bitch and my right to be a bitch if I needed to be a bitch, instead of being guilty, feeling guilty for, oh, I'm not being nice right now. Oh, I'm not pleasing them. Oh my God, I'm not being nice. Like, oh, like that was like, just like an old program too. Just like, where, yeah, just bullshit. And so, you're gonna hurt someone else's feelings if you say something like that. And of course, I'm not unkind. Like, I'm not an unkind person, but I've learned to like silence myself and censor myself and like, oh, how am I gonna say this so that the feelings aren't hurt? Or, and oh, I should not be feeling this way because oh, I love them, and well, it's okay, really, and just sweep it under the rug and just carry it around with me, like until like there'd be something, yeah, where it was passive aggressive and it was just like frustrated and stuff. Yeah, just seeing those patterns and those actions, like in certain ways that I hadn't seen them come up before. I knew I was kind of aware of like the passive aggressive stuff, but like in certain ways I didn't realize like how like still like it, if I'm feeling feelings of resentment, that's like um a marker or a key for me to see in certain ways where I haven't been asking for what I needed, or I haven't been setting my boundaries, or there has been something that has not been addressed or acknowledged or faced. Yeah, in a lot of ways, like where I need to own it. And that's where like paying attention and allowing my feelings comes in, because since I was never doing that or allowing myself that, then I never really could track these certain things. And then like, yeah, just being the detective and sometimes the overthinker and the philosopher that I am, kind of like kept me in a loop of not really seeing all of the, the full scope of things. And yeah, maybe it would point in one direction, but I couldn't see how certain things could relate or how they did relate. But like, yeah, then certain things, certain blind spots, certain things came through, so I could actually, yeah, they are, or I let go, observe and listen and let them reveal themselves, and or just express like certain things. And then like with art and creativity and all those things, that's, yeah, what really helped me like uncover and yeah, unveil some of these things, or just allow the veils to fall down, and so I could and be willing to see, or just like open to see what I needed to see. And so yeah, that was huge, huge, huge alchemy, and it was a potent year for that. And because there were so many triggers that came up, and if I would have, yeah, gone with my old patterns, yeah, I don't know, like I would probably be destroyed right now. I would have destroyed myself, because my soul wouldn't let me settle like for anything less right now. Like yeah, and I'll have a few things to say about that in part two. Um, yeah, I didn't get around to the gifts that I received yesterday, and but I did want to include like kind of certain backstory and where I've started, and like kind of go not in a linear fashion really, but like back years, and then back to the beginning of this year, and yeah, and to now. And it's just kind of because it all relates like in certain ways, like what I've been able to process and get through and bring forth and through and allow to come through, and express and teach me and show me. And it's part of my healing process and my messy process, like, and allowing that for me has been a gift. And so, and letting go of perfect and letting go. So, yeah, that's a good place to let this go and then to end and begin again in just a few minutes. Okay, thanks for listening, and yeah, I'll see you again. Ciao.